Welcome to the show. It's your girl Sarah right here on Relax Radio. Now, it is in fact a beautiful Monday morning, and I'm super excited to be here because we have a lot of things to be discussing on this beautiful Monday morning. Now, I hope you're doing amazing. I hope you're doing fine because, like I said, it is a Monday morning, which means we have a lot of things to discuss, especially things that happened during the weekend, changes that are taking place today, because there are so many changes that are taking place right now. Okay, not just here in the UK, but in fact all over the world as well. So if you want to be informed, if you want to be aware about all of those changes that are taking place, about all of those changes that are, changing, basically all of these changes, make sure you go follow us on our socials, right? Which is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. That way, you can actually make sure that you're informed and you're updated about everything that happens, not just here in the UK, but in fact, all over the world as well. Okay, now, before we head into the conversation where we're going to be talking about what exactly is the difference between the travel restrictions in terms of the travel restrictions here in the United Kingdom and the rest of the world, make sure you stay tuned. Now, before we head into that conversation, I want to very quickly remind you that you can in fact go follow us on our socials: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok. Those are the places you can go follow us. You can like us on Facebook, you can follow us on the rest of it, and you can subscribe to us on YouTube as well, because that way you can actually make sure that you are always informed, you're always aware about everything that happens. All right, and don't forget to download our app, which is available on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store as well. That way you can make sure that you're listening into this conversation from anywhere in the world at any time of the day, and that is absolutely amazing. Okay, so don't forget to do that, because like I said, it's going to be absolutely amazing if you are actually listening into this conversation. Okay, now let's actually head into the conversation. But before we head into the conversation, like I said, please do get in touch with me. Please do text me on 078 because I want to know what you're thinking, I want to know what you're feeling, and I want to make sure that you are aware that we care about you, that we want to know what your opinion is, we care about what you want to say and your thoughts. So please do get in touch with us, share it with us, because I can share it with everyone who is listening in as well. Okay, so don't forget to do that. Now let's actually head into our conversation, because it's important for us to be talking about what Rishi Sunak said to Boris Johnson in the past week. All right, now Rishi Sunak has actually written to the Prime Minister, and he basically demanded that, said, look, the UK needs to change its quarantine policy, right? And the reason he said this was obviously because he said that the United Kingdom isn't in fact, that we are in fact out of step with our international competitors, right? That we are not doing what we should be doing, and that's what Rishi Sunak said, right? And obviously, while he's saying that, it's obviously important for us to also take into consideration all the other things that are happening here in the United Kingdom, right? Let's talk about the vaccination drive. Let's talk about what exactly is happening in terms of vaccines. But let's also talk about how today they are easing the travel restrictions, or they're actually lifting the travel restrictions for people, or rather travelers who are coming in from the EU and the United States, right? Now, these people don't really, if they're fully vaccinated and they have proof of the fact that they are fully vaccinated, they don't actually have to bring in they don't really have to quarantine, right? So that is, a huge plus for them, something that's very positive for them as well. So that is what is currently happening. Now at 4 a.m. today, they actually announced this, and they said, look, obviously this decision was reached last week, but at 4 a.m. today, all those restrictions that were in place actually were lifted, which means that now all arrivals that are happening from people who are fully vaccinated, or rather travelers who are fully vaccinated from the EU and the US, can just come into the UK without having to quarantine. All right, now getting back into what Rishi Sunak actually told Boris Johnson, he said that we aren't really on par with the rest of the world, right? He said that we were out of step with the international competitors, right? And this was actually said because he thinks and he sees that there is in fact very little time to save summer for tourism and hospitality sectors, right? Now, obviously, this whole thing is actually being done to make sure that we can boost our economy, right? Because that's the that's what has been affected by the pandemic the most. Obviously, our economy has been going through a recession, and to be quite fair, to be quite honest with you, it's not just here in the UK, it's in fact all over the world, right? I mean, it's a global pandemic. Obviously, all of these countries are in fact facing what it is that you refer to as a recession. So because of that, it is why we're trying to open up the country, getting tourists, make sure that we can improve our industries as much as possible, because we want to make sure that we are trying to boost our economy as much as possible. Right now, like Rishi Sunak is actually saying, he said that there's very little time to save the tourism and the hospitality sectors, right? And he also said that he's very, very concerned about how rules on travel are in fact hampering business deals with the United States. However, having said that, we need to keep in mind that there are still, significant restrictions in terms of the US, in terms of traveling to the US, even though, there was a deal that was made between Boris Johnson and Joe Biden to actually make sure that we can to make sure that there was a UK US travel corridor. None of it has actually been I mean, action in terms of that hasn't actually been taken. All right, so they've just spoken about it. They've just said, look, we're going to do it, we might do it, but we haven't really seen anything happening. All right, so that is something that we need to keep in mind as well. Now make sure you stay tuned, because we're actually going to head into a small break, and after that we will be back to keep talking about this. But until then, make sure you stay tuned, because right now we're going to head into a small break. Welcome back to the show. It's your girl Sarah right here on the Sunrise. And it is, in fact, a beautiful Monday morning, all right? And I really, really hope you had an absolutely amazing weekend. You got some of that, beauty sleep that you really, really deserved. And I really hope you had an amazing weekend that actually helped you rejuvenate, okay? Because it definitely did. I spent my weekend cooking, and I spent my weekend, cooking, which is basically what I love to do. All right. So let me know how you spent your weekend, but let me know what you are thinking about the travel restrictions that were eased today as well, because I want to know what you are thinking. I want to know what you feel about all of this. Okay. So make sure to get in touch with me. Make sure to text me on 078 You can call me on that exact same number as well. You don't really just have to text me. You can definitely call me as well. Okay. Don't forget to do that, because like I said, I want to know what you are thinking. Now, Now, in addition to calling and texting me, something else that you can do is actually to go follow us on our socials. If you head on over to our Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok and press that follow button, it would really be awesome. Okay. And the reason I'm telling you that is because you're obviously following us, but also it's going to help make sure that you're always informed, you're always aware about everything that happens all over the world. Okay, so don't forget to do that. And obviously, something else that is going to happen, or rather, something else you can do, is in fact to go you like us, or rather, go download our app, which is available on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. All right, don't forget to do that because right now we're going to head back into our conversation. Right now, we were talking about the difference between the travel restrictions here in the United Kingdom and over the rest of the world. Okay, and the reason we're talking about this is because Rishi Sunak actually wrote to Boris Johnson and said, look, travel restrictions aren't really on par with the rest of the world. We need to change it, and we need to relax some of those restrictions, right? And the reason he said that is because there's very little time to apparently save the tourism and the hospitality sector, and that is why he said it, right? But let's actually look at how some of the other countries all over the world are in fact taking these or rather reducing these travel restrictions that are in place, and how exactly these things are changing. Okay, so I want to first sort of analyze these travel restrictions, travel guidelines in the rest of the world, and then head back to the UK and help you understand what exactly is different. Right now, let's actually talk about it because Rishi Sunak actually called Boris Johnson to take advantage of the very successful vaccination program that we're currently having by making sure that we open up further. Right now, I don't essentially agree to this because I feel like if we open up further, if we open up more than we already have, it could result in an overwhelming influx of COVID-19 patients to the NHS, and we'll be back to square one. Basically, that is what it will be. However, let's also talk about the world and how exactly the world has changed, because Portugal actually lifted its nationwide curfew and began easing restrictions. All right, now that was just Portugal, whereas in Australia, that Sydney actually headed into lockdown a few weeks back, or rather last week, because of the outbreak of coronavirus cases in terms of the Delta variant there in Sydney, right? So Australia has in fact released its details of reopening plans, and they are in fact moving to the next phase when 70% of the population is fully vaccinated, right? So their vaccination drive is still happening, all the vaccination drives all over the world. So make sure that if you are here in the UK, if you can go and get vaccinated, go get vaccinated. We will be talking about vaccines as well, so make sure you stay tuned. Now, I want to quickly, get into Asia a little bit, because we're going to be looking into Japan, because Japan has in fact extended its state of emergency, right? And they've done this in several cities until the end of August, at least until the end of August, because of how there's in fact a surge in coronavirus cases there in Japan. Obviously, the reason there is Tokyo, or rather Olympics, is currently being held as well, and with that, they have in fact seen a surge in the coronavirus cases there in Japan. So that is why they're going to possibly extend it till the end of August. Now, England has in fact as of today, suspended its quarantine policy for fully vaccinated travelers from the United States and the European Union, which is effective, today. And while we're talking about that, we're going to be having US travelers and the travelers from EU coming into the United Kingdom today with no need of quarantine. They still have to make sure that they have a negative COVID-19 test. They have a negative, PCR test, of a lateral flow test, to make sure that they can actually come into the country without having to quarantine. All right. Now, U.S. land borders with Mexico also have U.S. land borders with Mexico and Canada will also remain closed to non-essential travel through August 21st. Now, all right. Now, this announcement actually came from the White House shortly after Canada said it would it would allow fully vaccinated US citizens and permanent residents to actually enter the country on August 9th, right? Now, they also have plans to actually ease travel restrictions for fully vaccinated visitors from all countries in September. So that is what is happening all around the world. To head back into the UK a little bit. Now, Ireland has in fact opened its borders to fully vaccinated US travelers. All right. Again, the main requirement here is that these travelers are fully vaccinated. So for you to anyway travel, you need to make sure that you're fully vaccinated. Now, Singapore will actually revert to its phase 2 measures, and it has lowered capacities for gatherings. Okay. So again, something that we need to keep in mind when we are thinking of all the travel restrictions that are here in the UK, even though they have been eased as of today. We know that France is in fact on the Amber Plus list because of the beta variant that is currently there within France. All right. Now, to go into France and to talk a little bit about France and what they have done in terms of COVID-19, France has actually lifted most of its restrictions, but they still do require those, health certificates to be used in meetings, cafes, restaurants, theaters, and more. So make sure you stay tuned, because after this break, we will be back to keep talking about how exactly will travel restrictions change today. Okay, so if you want to find out more, make sure you stay tuned. Because after this break, we will be back to keep talking about it. All right. So until then, make sure you go follow us on our socials. You text me, you get in touch with me, and let me know what you are feeling as well.
We've seen it, right? If an owner of a large public traded company does something wrong, irrelevant of what that company does or how valuable that company is, the stock generally falls into a pool of nothing, right? Because in a public company where the stock is traded openly on the stock exchange, the value of that stock is